for race number 1. The red flag moves to the sideline. The red lights are on. And it's a fantastic start from Brandon Good. Take care then, bye-bye now. Wow, Brandon Good could even hole shot this one.
He's got around the outside. He's definitely in the 2 spot. He beat out Lance Isaacs. Isaacs got left behind, and it is Goody that slots up in the 2 spot. Championship points leader, Clinton Seller, Evil Knievel, hole shot, and then Brent Herron in 3rd place. So Lance Isaacs just lost 2 places off the line.
It's the battle of the 7 and the 1s. It's 1 that leads, 71 is 2nd, 77 is 3rd, and then it's the 38 special. Sir Lancelot around the outside of Brent Herron into Copacabana. He has to sit up there. There's no way you're going to be able to make that maneuver stick. Lance trying a little bit too hard, a little bit too early on.
And that's going to mean that Dylan White has got a chance to get the hammer down and maybe get the pass going, because we know that he is lined up. No, Lance just hangs on to it, covers that inside line, and I promise you he was sweating it, because if he'd have gone behind White going into the complex, it was going to be a very hard fight back. So watch out for a little bit of tension in this riding coming out of Lance Isaacs. He won't be relaxed right now.
Keep an eye on the fact that they've gone through there now under anger for the first time, and no one seemed to be fazed too much by the wind. I thought it might come into play. It's definitely going to come into play by the time they get onto the braking markers of a beacon. So this is the first time we're going to see what it's like at full pace, how the wind is going to affect these riders. They all pitch it onto the right-hand side. Goody hangs on for 2nd for now. On his tail is the Black Knight, Brent Herron, and now they're on the straight. Down that main straightaway, Clint Seller has checked out. He's got the hotel bill, and he's headed for East London International Airport.
He has gone 1.5 seconds from a standing start. That is unheard of. He is going for a lap record. Goody's got a good gap here as well, because he got great drive, and the dice now is going to be Brent Herron. But watch, this is the sector of the track where Brent is an absolute machine. Clicks in another gear, 6th gear, flat out and held. By the time they get on the brakes, we're going to be climbing up. Remember, he was going through that sweep at 302 km an hour. Perhaps not in this lap, not the confidence yet, and he was loose under brakes there as well. I saw that, Greg. He is wagging the tail, but all the while, he is slowing himself down. He's not getting held up by Brandon Good. He is making the mistakes.
Brandon Good, 2nd place. Herron is 3rd. 38 special is Lance Isaacs on the Black Swan BMW, the only BM in amongst 5 Kawasaki's. Because behind him, it's Flock. And behind Flock, Dylan White, Ronald Slammen, Ivan van Niekerk, Robert Portman and Nicholas van der Walt are battling. The 2 Yamaha riders, unfortunately, just not able to run in these conditions, and the 2 of them are slightly off the pace right now. Top 10 is made up of Portman in 9 and Nicholas van der Walt, his teammate, in 10th spot.
Okay, this is where Herron needs to make a pass, but look at the wide line approaching Beacon. Once again, late on the brakes. Herron gets the nose locked up. The back end comes up. Herron is desperate to get through, but if he keeps riding like this, he's going to make a mistake.
Garrick Flock out of Beacon corner on the rumble strip, getting it completely sideways. He just kept that throttle buried to the locker, and that was the only thing that saved him from going down.
Incoming.
2nd place change up. Here comes Lancelot.
That was 2 in 1. That was a horsepower and a slipstream pass. So the smaller rider, the diminutive Kryptonian, on the big power of the German BMW, has slid his way through. He's got clear air, and it's almost normal service resumed, because he was the 2nd fastest qualifier, but he hasn't got past quick enough.
Oh, unbelievable stuff here as they come down to Copacabana corner. 2 Kawasaki's, 3 Kawasaki's, 4 Kawasaki's behind that BMW, all trying to close down on Evil Knievel. And Knievel is just opening up more and more of a margin, lapping it almost a second quicker than anybody else. He's into the 20s already, and Brent Herron decides, no, it's time to check out. Yeah. Let's go hunting.
That was a bit of an ugly one. You could see he wasn't comfortable to take that line. He had to take the pass. He sacrificed a bit of mid-corner speed, but he has made the pass, and he has got through on Goody. Goody, all he has to do is go with Brent Herron, because just behind him there's a 2-way split on the Kawasaki's riding out a different cruise. The man at the back is Garrick Flock, who looks like he may be trying to set up a pass on the gambler Dylan White.
Okay, Dylan White is definitely under pressure. There's no doubt about that one. The gambler looking in his rearview mirrors, and Flock is all over him. But watch how loose Flock is through here. Runs very wide onto that rumble strip and gets it completely out of shape to get the drive. Then fights to keep the wheel down. Every single rider is fighting to keep that front wheel down right now with the wind pumping across the circuit. He is really battling. Monster branding also going to go wide there. A bit of a concern, I must say. If that branding takes off, we're going to be in big trouble. And a couple of those branding boards on the side of the circuit on the main straight are in a little bit of a concern for me.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a worry watching that, and I'm sure the track crew will be all over that like a fat kid on a cupcake. Right now we are all about the racing action, and Brent Herron extending himself away from the 3-way split behind. Goody is about to get mugged.
Brandon Good, I think, has had a run at the front end, and he's now going to have to try and stay defensive as possible. There's a bit of a margin opened up over 1, 2, and 3. 4 and 5 is where everything is happening right now as Brandon Good gets closed down by Dylan White and Garrick Flock, the young guns of the series. The guys who are basically probably the most hungry out of everybody else out there, and not to take anything away from, of course, Clint Seller and Lance Isaacs, but it's Brent Herron, who is the younger of those three, who sits in third place trying to close them down. But this little battle really starting to heat up here as we get into this race and the thick of it. We're coming up to a quarter of the way through. In fact, there's a little bit more because there's 18 laps here in Super GP, not 16.
Yeah, keep breathing. These guys are going to have to breathe the whole way through it. Yeah, Dylan White gets through on Goody, so that means the berm is coming out. And here we go, Garrick Flock all the way, and he needed the berm. He went off the side of the berm this time. He is loose as you can be, and unfortunately, that really killed his drive coming out of the turn, and he's lost a lot of gap. Look at this. This is Goody trying to make his way back as well, so Goody has got the hurry up. All he needed was a little bit of a pass, a little bit of intimidation, and he seems to have pulled it back out of the can. Fourth place battle is where we are at. Clinton Seller is lapping on the 120s, just outside of the 119 high bracket. 119 comes out of Lance Isaacs, fastest man on track.
Okay, so the hammer's now been dropped, and I think the challenge has been taken up. Isaacs has decided, let's get that wick turned up a bit. Let's go for a bit of a ride at the front end and close down on Knievel. Clint Seller is going to be concerned. If he comes across the line, the board is going to be telling him that Isaacs is down into the 19s. He needs to answer that as quickly as possible. Although,
still a 2-second gap though, so it's going to take a while.
It is, but looking at the lap times, it's 0.7 of a second difference. So 0.7 of a second will only take him 2 or 3 laps, and there's still, what are we looking at, 14 laps to go.
Still half a day to go.
Yes, indeed.
Look, the great news is we are still out there, we're still racing. This wind, please, will die down at some point. Hopefully we get a little bit of cleaner run in the afternoon. But the fourth place battle for me is keeping me on my toes. It's great to see this battle as well, because we're going to call Garrick Flock and Goody the new kids on the block as far as the 1000cc category goes. Dylan White has only been on 1000cc for 2 seasons now. He seems to have spent his entire life on a supersport bike.
It's great to have him in the 1000 class. The leader class needed him. The Gambler, as we like to call him, it's his nickname that he's run since he's been racing motorcycles, and of course the 23, very synonymous when it comes to that young man. 71 is Brandon Good, a new man to the 1000cc category. It's only his first season on the leader class, and already fighting for possibilities of podiums. That is so good for that young man, and just builds confidence every single time.
Oh, would you look at that gap?
Down the beach straight. And Isaacs, dude, he's closing properly.
He hasn't taken your 3 laps or whatever it was. He has closed up in almost 1.5 laps to make this a real dogfight. And I wonder if Clinton Seller may have rolled out to kind of dangle the carrot a little bit. Bit of a risky move. I mean, we say he's walking away with this championship, but he's not. You know, they are coming, and every single round there's a new man coming to the front. The surprise right now is to see Lance Isaacs coming through, but again, if you actually review the season looking at Cape Town, Lance is bringing a lot of confidence and a lot of momentum forward from the previous round.
And let's just bring it into account one more time, something that a lot of people don't realize about this circuit. Lance Isaacs has had huge success here, probably just as much as his home track in Cape Town. It's one of his favorite circuits in the country. He goes into the slipstream, and we may have a
looking for a pass here.
Oh, it was extremely close. He might wait for a rifle like he saw a bit earlier on in the 600s. But Isaacs is certainly there, and is going to be showing a wheel every time he can to Evil Knievel Clinton Seller. Into rifle, he shows another wheel.
Big sit up there.
So Seller knows he's there, and he'll be concerned about the fact that that 2.5 second lead has been diminished within 2 laps, dude.
Well, whatever they found is incredible, because it has literally turned the tables. Yesterday, Clinton Seller was able to run lap time 0.9 faster than anyone else. That's almost a full second. This time around, lap times are in the hands of Lance Isaacs, and he just blows past like absolutely nothing is there. The problem he was having yesterday was under braking. That's all gone. There's plenty of braking, there's plenty of ponies, and there's plenty of grip.
Dude,
Seller is fading backwards, but badly.
I can tell you right now, he's fading properly. And whether or not this is part of his tactical plan, I don't know. Because when Seller gets to the front end, like I was about to mention when the overtaking happened, it's usually a case of him getting up and ducking and not seeing him until the end of the race when the flag drops. This time, however, he tried to do that and has been reeled in by Isaacs. Isaacs on the Black Swan BMW didn't find it too difficult to make up that 2.5 seconds within a lap and a half, and is now leading the race for the first time as they cross the stripe. Clint Seller's got it all to do here. I don't think, to be honest with you, I think that Kawasaki's got an issue. He is falling backwards ever so slowly, and as much as you tell me that that bike's got power and he's got the ability to do the 119 ones we saw out of Super Bowl yesterday, he's now sitting in the 21 ones, 2 seconds off the pace of the potential of that motorcycle.
It's very strange. I think we're going to have to start rolling out the strategy conversation that we sometimes do. But we've got 11 laps remaining in this race, and the take I'm going to look at this is he basically dropped the hammer real hard in the first 3 laps. Maybe considered to himself and went, you know what, I don't want to smoke the rubber. This is probably the longest race they have ever done, on a sprint race anyway, 18 lapper, and I think he's just going to follow Lance around for a bit, and 5 laps to go. We're going to see a different race.
Following on from that comment, Matt, I have to say, of the field, these 2 riders, most experienced, and of doing slightly longer races than the other riders have ever done. Lance, World Superbikes, AMA. Clinton Seller, AMA, World Superstocks. So certainly know how to run a longer race distance better than anybody else in this pack.
And if you look at Clinton Seller's riding style, he looks extremely relaxed. He's not really in the focus. He's not on the A game. He's very comfortable. And I wish I could see his boards. Basically, I want to know what's going on, what information he's getting fed, because he's getting hammered down the straight here, and that gap is a clear half second now.
I want to know what's going on in the head, because this is not the way Seller rides. As we've seen in the past, Seller gets to the front, disappears, and as I said, on the first lap, he got the ticket, paid the hotel bill, and was on his way to the airport. Now, the flight's been delayed, but
yeah, something is going on here. It's going to be a bit of a strange situation. We possibly will only get our answers on the podium if he actually tells us the truth about what happened in the race. But if he's on the podium, indeed. So we'll have to just figure out. You know what? We need to find out if there's a crazy strategy going on here, and we'll try and get a word with Brandon Assis and the crew down there. And if we can't speak to them, we will get a shot of the pit board. Right now, 1 and 2 are extending away, but both of the body language coming out of Lance Isaacs and Clinton Seller is extremely relaxed. So I really do think they are chilling out hard here. Looks like Brent Herron in 3rd place. Dylan White running in 4th place. The 5th place battle is between the new bloods. This is Goody. Unfortunately, Goody is fading now into the clutches of Garrick Flock. So we are seeing gaps blow wide open. The leaders go through Potters, and it looks like a very lonely ride for Brent Herron.
Brent Herron's just keeping it all good in 3rd place, but you don't have to do any more than that. He unfortunately doesn't have the pace to run with Isaacs and Seller, and maybe that also could be a strategy. You know, he's a very fit young man, not to take anything away. You know how hard Lance works out, you know how hard Clint Seller works out, but the bottom line is the youngsters are definitely going to have an advantage over the 2 slightly older statesmen of this race that lead right now. Garrick Flock closing in on the back end of Brandon Good as they go into Cochabamba. A nice little battle. We saw one that unfortunately you missed out on not being on the tour, but it's great to have you on tour now, between Gerrit Visser and Flock down in Cape Town. Dude, it was incredible. They were chopping and changing worse than the 600 riders. And I think that's what's going to happen here between Goody and Flock.
Okay, so let's talk numbers, because it's my turn now. Here we go. Both of the leaders are running in the 19s. So they're not cruising, they're not hanging around. They are racing, and they are trying their best out there. Seller, though, I think is just hunting down, and he's going to allow Lance Isaacs to lead this all the way to the last couple of laps. Brent Herron trying to improve his times. Brent Herron in the low 120s, a 120.5. Dylan White a 120.9. And Brandon Good on a 121.5, which is his fastest lap. But right now, the leader's running in the 119 bracket, and it looks like championship points leader Clinton Seller is comfortable to just sit in the 2 spot. 8 laps remaining in this race. So we are practically at the halfway marker of this race, and I'm looking to see if Lance Isaacs is going to look over his shoulder and just ask Clinton Seller to come through and take a little bit of wind. And that, I think, is what we are talking about here. Clinton is simply hiding from the wind.
I think so. I have to take back what I said earlier, that there was a problem on the bike. There doesn't seem to be any problem. Clint has let Lance catch him and has now let Lance do all the buffering on the wind.
This is like Tour de France racing. I know you can tell me about that, Greg. Tour de France racing, you sit in the pack. We're going to call Clinton Seller Cavendish on this one.
Exactly. Mark Cavendish is about, the Manx missile is about to be deployed. Hopefully not the same way Clint Seller did it a couple of years ago with the Rushan Mudley, where he crossed the start-finish line on his back, on his butt, at 200 k's an hour.
Yeah, Lance is just being very, very comfortable about this. I'll tell you what, Lance Isaacs just wants a little bit of a break. And I think it is going to be all about tucking in and hiding from the wind. Still good lap times, both of them running in the 19s earlier in the race, now dropping the pace to a 120.5. All right, heading up to Beacon for another time. When they come across the stripe, there will be 6 laps remaining, and this shot that we are seeing here, looking down at Kookaburra, tells us a huge story. It tells us a 7-second story, because that's how far back you've got to go to pick up on Brent Herron. It looks like we've got the pits down, and we're ready to talk strategy down there.
All right, Brad, is it Clint's strategy to actually fall behind Isaacs and for the race? And do you think he has what it takes to actually overtake him when it comes to it at the end of the race?
I don't know, we're watching it live unfold in front of us and you seeing it happen with me. It's a tough one, this. It's a long race, 18 laps. We've never been this far. We don't know what the fuel's going to do. So we've left it up to Clint to make the call, make the decision, see what's going to unfold. The BMW has got pace, as you see, running down the straight. I mean, the Kawasaki's struggling to stay with him, even in the slipstream. So I think the BM being heavier is pushing through the wind a lot easier. And sure, maybe Clint's having to work a bit harder than he's used to, but hats off to BMW and Lance for taking the fight to Clint.
Okay, well, good luck, and let's see what happens.
Yeah,
Back
incredible
to
stuff, Ricky. Fantastic stuff, Brad. Thanks for the insight there. Brad Anastas, of course, has huge amounts, oodles of experience when it comes to this kind of stuff. And this is now literally the strategy we've picked up on, Matt. He has held back. He's holding back ever so slightly.
Yeah, just look over the shoulder there. Yeah, I think, he's looking over his shoulder. He definitely, we know a rider is playing strategy when he looks over his shoulder, because we're coming into the time, the last 5 laps, where the race is actually going to start. For now, it's just been the prequel. We've been building up, we've been buying popcorn, we've been getting ourselves ready, trying to find the seat, trip over someone as they've got the handbag on the floor. We're going to sit down and watch the movie now.
The handbag on the floor is Garrick Flock.
Oh, man.
Where are you going, Garrick Flock? If you carried on just to the left-hand side for about 200 meters, surf's up, baby.
And slam it behind him as well. I expected to see a little bit of a better of a ride coming out of Ron there, but he's really battling.
Unfortunately, he's battled a bit. I think he's not quite used to these kind of conditions, Matt. He is slowly but surely getting better and better, as we've seen improvements right the way through. There's the first shot we saw of the Yamaha there as well, of Robert Portman, who's actually got ahead of Ivan van Niekerk. And there he is, yes indeed. So a bit of a change up there. The Red Baron is being closed down by Portman, and Portman's R1, although it wasn't firing on all cylinders, it was certainly going okay, and now it's just going better and better as we close in there. Now that also can be brought into the fact that Slammin is not used to riding this distance.
Yeah, that's all it is, and I think a couple of the guys are simply holding back. Checking to the Pirelli guys, I think we're going to have a situation where they'll probably know at the end of the race, oh man, I could have gone harder. I think we're looking at them going, maybe, I would be in the same situation as well. I'd look and go, I don't think my tyres are going to hold.
That's exactly what I think is happening here. They're probably going conservative. And when they climb off the bikes, like the 600 riders did, and see that there's hardly any degradation at all,
they're going to know.
They are going to know exactly how hard they can push these bikes for race number 2, Matt.
All right, looking at the gaps now, because the race leaders have taken the 5 laps to go forward, which means I was looking at the last 5 laps thinking, okay, something's going to happen now. So what I think we're going to start talking about now is maybe Clinton Seller doing a few setup and test runs.
Yeah, a little bit of test run, showing the wheel left, right, and center.
And it's going to be here.
Trying to find an opportunity to pass. I don't know. I think Seller would like to get past before then. There's been an incident in the past, if you recall, not between Seller and Isaacs, between Sheridan and Isaacs, where Isaacs actually went down in Beacon Corner.
I recall, and I remember it exactly. Shez was on the Ducati, and they collected each other. So I don't think I would want to go drag racing, knowing how strong that BMW is. So we are seeing some improvements on the bike. It looks like Lance has found a package that works for him today on this circuit. And yeah, Clint is going to have to do something a little bit different. So maybe it's going to be a situation where he's going to block him out going into gate and block his exit speed so that he can get a bit of a better squirt coming out of the sweep, heading up to Beacon.
Well, the master tactician at the front end of this race right now is Lance Isaacs, and he's going to know exactly what to do. And look at that. He's turned the wick up halfway through this lap and has pulled a slight margin on Seller. Is that going to be enough to maybe just give him the advantage that he needs heading into these last couple of laps? Because if he gets a little bit of a gap, Seller's going to battle to close that down. Yeah. He's going to be thinking exactly what we were thinking. are my tyres actually going to last? We think they are. We'll get coverage of that and notice of that when they pull into the pit lane down in podium, and we can tell you how bad the rubber has either gone or how good it's gone. Right now, I'm thinking it's good, and they're just riding conservatively.
Well, you can look at it. Lance has got the style where he does back the bike in a little bit under braking. But to be honest, we know that doesn't really tear up rubber. Tearing up rubber comes from getting on the gas too hard, right? So it was 2.7 last time across the stripe. It's 0.4, sorry, 0.2. Now it's 0.4. So certainly on this lap, there was a bigger gap. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this one. I don't think we'll have to see Clinton Seller be able to close up on this one because he is good on the brakes, but he is matched here and so far is beaten. This is where the race has happened. You talked about earlier, it doesn't matter what happened before. This is all that happens. This is all that matters now, these last 3 laps.
And you can see that even though the gap opened up in that half a lap, things have certainly changed up here in the second part of that half of the lap. Now it's all about Seller closing in. So whatever Lance does in this part from here until the flag, he pulls the gap. But coming into the complex, it's Seller that shuts that gap down again.
Still very little urgency coming out of Clinton Seller. Still looks extremely comfortable, just ticking off the laps. He is literally waiting for his moment, and that is going to be all the talk. Here we go. We're seeing a different line coming out of Seller. He's got a real good run going into Beacon, and just knowing his history, Beacon is where he is going to try and make it count. Where he may start setting up and like just ruffling the feathers of Isaacs is going to be on the brakes down at Copacabana.
Yeah.
But he needs a better run. Last time around, it was 0.4. The previous lap, it was 0.2. It's closer this time. Clinton Seller is close enough that he may be able to get back onto the brakes with 2 laps to go. So I'm looking down at Copacabana. This is the closest it's been so far. This is where the race starts.
2 laps to go and 0.2, Matt. So he's caught that 2/10 up and got onto the back end of Isaacs as they go through Rifle. And the very, very fast section of the circuit, the BMW seems to have a little bit of extra top end. Although, as I say that, on the brakes, that Kawasaki just closes in on Isaacs.
That was a setup. He was having a look. He knows he needs to be a little tiny bit closer, so a little bit of recalibration. The next lap around, he's going to try that setup once again and try and see if he can hold it.
You're just looking at the lap times there, the 124s coming out of Van der Walt and Portman, 22s and initially out of Portman, but 24s now. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I picked up on one of the Yamaha riders. I wasn't sure if it was Portman or Van der Walt. And looking at it, in fact, Van der Walt is in. Yeah. He's not out on circuit at the moment, so it is definitely Portman that they're closing in. And it looks like Robert Portman may actually come into play. There he goes, up towards Beacon Corner. The 2 leaders right on his tail, and we're about to come and start the final lap.
And this is all it is about, this last lap. So this is the last run, and here we go. 1 more lap in it, and they are glued together, and lappers are 100% going to come into this one, and it's very sad to say that it's Rob Portman being a lapper.
Bobby Idle wouldn't be happy about the fact that he's about to be lapped by these top 2 riders in the Super GP class, but unfortunately that's what's happened, and hopefully he can hang on until the end of this lap.
Coming into the braking markers then, Clint Seller closer than he has been so far, and are we going to see a little bit of guesswork going on here? Shows the wheel, gets the line up the inside, and this is going to be the block pass that we've been looking for the whole way through the race. It's now or never time. Clinton Seller has to get the job done. Look how aggressive Lance Isaacs is on the gas, and a huge fade, and Lance rides into the back wheel of Clinton Seller. That's the race. It's done.
He rode right into the back as he tried to make the maneuver, just clipped the wheel, the front wheel and back wheel touching each other. It is Van der Walt that they just passed.
Correct.
So apologies there, I didn't see him there, but unfortunately Van der Walt has now been lapped. Now they come out of the complex. Seller's got the advantage.
Yes, he's going to be able to hold this one.
He's cost Lance Isaacs dearly and possibly the race win.
And it was exactly right. He did the block pass. He got a good line, made the pass going in and held it coming out of Copacabana, and did a slow, gradual fade. It wasn't an ugly move at all. A slow, gradual fade across to cover his line. And we are in the final turn now. Drag race, but Lance Isaacs is pretty much set up already.
I think Lance Isaacs realizes that cost him down the beach straight. Yeah, bit of showboating out of Lance. He knows he was in a massive battle. And I'm not quite sure we're going to get any wheelies here today with this win. But it's, wow, Evil Knievel taking another victory. And you can see he's saying, are you okay? Because, man, that was close. Yeah, high fives there. They know they were in a battle on that last one. It could have gone either way. Unfortunately, it went the way, in terms of Lance Isaacs, the unfortunate side of things, went the way of Evil Knievel. Clint Seller taking the victory, and second place going to Lance Isaacs.
I think I see a lot of gesticulation going on here. No bad blood, though. And you know what happened there? He goes, my bad. Points down at his gear shifter. He missed a gear coming out of there.
And And Lance just avoided him and fortunately didn't crash into the back of him. So great stuff there. They can see that it was a racing incident. No ill intent there at all. Once again, didn't get to mention him much this time out, but Brent Herron comes through for third place. He'll be on the podium again. That's great for RSA and Mantella Racing. He's maintaining points. That's the cool thing about it. And of course, that brings us to the podium ceremony. I'm going to shoot down there now. I'll keep you up to date as to what's happening down there and maybe get a little bit of insight as to how those tires have gone.
All right, so once again, an incident-packed race. It was all about strategy. This is what we were talking about the whole way through. Lance Isaacs getting a great drop off the line. The whole shot was all about Clinton Seller. Seller, though, rolled out 2 laps into the race, allowed Lance Isaacs to come through and lead the race, tagged onto his back wheel. They were still running fast enough pace to be able to get away from the third place man, Brent Herron, who got a little bit balked down off the line and had to make his way through Goody, Flock, and Dylan White. But the race win going to Clinton Seller, playing a very well-played game. Strategy definitely came into it. It looked like there may have been a little bit of a situation on the final lap coming out of Copacabana, which is where we saw the touch between the 2 riders. Clinton Seller was moving across the track, trying to block off the line, and Lance Isaacs rode into his back tire, nearly going down in the process. So there'll be a high heart rate coming out of the heart rate monitor of Lance Isaacs, as well as Clinton Seller, who will have felt that nudge. It would have been a big hit because it caused a lot of smoke to come off the tires. But no bad blood there. We'll have to get clarity when the guys come in and Greg Maloney speaks to them off the podium. But it is a confirmed win for Clinton Seller ahead of Lance Isaacs and Brent Herron. Lineup here, very small entry now, losing a couple of riders through the day, and we are looking at our last race on the day here at round number 4 of Monster Energy Super GP Champions Trophy. Whole shot is gonna go to Lancelot.
Oh, Lancelot gets off the line first, heads down towards turn 1. Isaacs has got an amazing start there, as has Brandon Good. He's going to force Ronald Slammett onto the outside. Nearly goes up the inside of Slammett. It's Seller into second. Slammett goes through for 4, or for 3, I should say. And then Brent Herron looking to really come up the inside and find a way through into Rifle. He nearly has a look, doesn't quite get there, but it's now a BMW that leads out the pack of Kawasaki's behind.
And third place is going to be up for grabs. Brent Herron could have dived up the inside there going into the brakes at Copacabana, but he has given it to Ronald Slammett. So Slammett has been listening to us. We've expected to see him running at the front, and this time around he's arrived. But how long can he stay there? Because on the numbers, he cannot run the same lap times as Goody or Brent Herron, but he has had a great start, and it's Lance Isaacs that leads us once through gate and twice through Cox.
Through Cox's corner now and out of the complex. Isaacs in the lead. Sellers on his tail. He'll probably sit there for a while. He might just show the wheel and get up front and just say, look, I've got it if you need it, and then drop back again. It's always a bit of a gamble and a bit of a strategy that starts to be played between those 2 riders, but the battle now is for third place as they head up the hill. 68 having to go defensive there, and Ronald Slammett might be outgunned here into Peaky corner.
Out.
Yes. Oh, a little bit of maneuver there to keep out Kinsella from Isaacs, and Herron's through into third.
Yeah, that was going to happen quickly, and it had to happen quickly as well. Look at all the dirt. That's what I was talking about. The roost coming off these tires, and that is why you get flicked through the screen and hopefully not through your visor on your helmet. There's a lot of debris out there, and it's getting roosted up. The sun broke through just for a second there, and it seems to have run away again as the top 2 run away from the rest of the field.
Every single time the sun comes out, the wind blows and they get scared, I think, and it gets out of there properly. Now onto the brakes into Copacabana. This is on the second time of asking, and well, a change up there as well. Slammett goes back down into 5th place as we see Dylan White sneaking through the pack.
Yeah, the Gambler is normally pretty good about getting off the line, but look at that cluster that is happening down there in the 3rd place battle. Herron will start stretching his legs out a little bit, and incredibly enough, these guys have just done a 125 standing start lap at the front of the pack.
It's not a bad effort there. Just been watching Alan John Fenter, one of our Super GP riders, of course, in the Super 600s. He was at Isle of Man, and looking at the lap times they were able to do from a standing start, that is an impressive lap time from a standing start from Kinsella and from Isaacs. 125.7 or 125.9 out of Seller, and nothing in between these 2 as they start to pull away from that battle. The reason they're pulling away is they started to have a bit of an in-house between the Kawasaki's here, and I was saying expect Dylan White to sneak on the inside past Herron, but he saw him coming.
Yeah, Dylan White had a good long look there as well, and maybe the Gambler has figured out a little different setup. It seems to be the case. Certainly coming into heat number 2, we're seeing different people come to the front, and I'm talking particularly about the Gambler Unfortunately, Ronald Slamet looked like he just got a good drop off the line, but his race pace and lap pace isn't good enough because Goody and looks like we might see Garrick Flock come through on him again.
You can see Flock now having to fight with Slamet and Good. Here comes White on the brakes down into Kocabana, and he's through. I think Brent Herron saw him coming and gave him some space to play with. Doesn't want to be throwing it away this early in the race. Remember, we're only on to lap 3 here of the race, so there's a long way to go. Another 16 laps coming your way in the Super GP's round 4.
First of the flying laps for the boys out front, Lance Isaacs and Clinton Seller, straight into the low 20s. So we are going to see the 19s arrive, possibly not in these early stages, but certainly 5 laps to go. We'll start showing it. You know what? Lance has done that every single lap. I saw your reaction there, but Lance has opened that door every lap. He's kind of goading the man in second place, Clinton Seller, and wanting him to come through. He's braking extremely early, and he's leaving the door wide open, but Clinton will not go through. It's going to be extremely frustrating for Lance, this.
I think the reason he's trying to do that is maybe just to force a mistake out of Seller. Speaking of the 120s though, Matt, you said a 124 and a 123 out of Seller. There was a 129 out of Dylan White, which is what allowed him to get past Brent Herron for the 3rd spot on the track. Right, so as we get into the thick of it here, this is what it's all about. Battle between 1 and 2 is Lance Isaacs and Clint Seller, 38 and number 1. That is what they've run for a while now, and the man who won out, of course, the title in the 600s, moved on to the 1000 category and won that, and is now looking for a title in the Super GP class to make it 3 championships in a row, is the man sitting in 2nd place.
Yeah, he's had a good run. He's had a very good run. You've got to go back to Dave McFadden, who possibly could have been a killer challenger in this mix-up, as well as, of course, Sheridan Moraes, the name that almost doesn't need to be mentioned because he's won so much in South African Superbike and Supersport racing, doing the business overseas. Right now, we're concentrating on this, the premier category on the Monster Energy Super GP Champions Trophy, the Super GP race. This is the best racing in South Africa right now, and these are the key players.
Certainly are, heading up towards the top of the hill now. Look in the background though, bit of a change up. Dylan White is being hassled big time by the 7.7 bike there of Herron. And we're nice to see you picking up on it. And actually just behind them, another epic battle between Brandon Good and Garrick Flock. So it's like 2 by 2. What is the arc coming? I know the wind's blowing.
Yeah. I'll just turn around and check if it's not. We've had crazy weather, but the sun is shining on us. And here comes Brent Herron, the Spider-Man, climbing off the back wheel. Those bikes are so evenly matched, it's scary. He pulled out of the slipstream, but did not want to go for the line. Obviously felt that Dylan White was going to close him down.
Dylan White under pressure now from the Black Knight. Brent Herron wants to get through there. There's no doubt about it. He has to get in there. He's got to get it back onto the podium. He doesn't want to lose too much ground there to his ex-teammate and now rival of note on the Black Swan BMW. That's at the front end of this battle.
Look at Goody as well there. He's down there in 5th place. And a great run here for as well, the 64 of Garrick Flock. They have left Ronald Slamet in their dust, and I mean that literally.
It's amazing bit of riding here from these guys. They're getting away, got their own little battle, and if they actually work together, there's a possibility they could close down on Seller and Isaacs. Because looking at their lap times, they're only about 0.1 or 0.2 of a second off the laps that are coming out of the leaders. And that's because they're in the fight. If they kind of, not really that you can gesticulate to your mate to let's go and catch them, but let's go and catch them is what you need to do.
The Michael White move.
Yes, indeed.
The magic move.
Yeah, Magic Mike's little, come on, let's go with me. I know the route. I know this turns right at the top of the hill.
That's going to stay with me for a while. It really is. Through Potter's hand off, telling his mate, just come with me. And be like, dude, just turn the corner. I'll follow. It's fine.
It turns right at Raffle, I think. I'll try and follow you through there, Magic Mike.
Trying to see what's going on at the back of the pack here. Slamet and Portman just linked together quite nicely. Thank you very much. Portman still locked into his 22s. He hasn't gone faster than 22 all weekend.
Here they come down to the brakes though, the leaders of course, and that is Lance Isaacs, Black Swan Energy, BMW, PS Race, Kawasaki, and some awesome maneuvering. But you know what? It's kind of a poker game right now between the two of them.
All it is.
No one is showing their cards just yet.
All it is. Look at this, 2 by 2. I see your chirp there. 1 and 2 come through. 3 and 4, all about Whitey and Herron. Goody. And then we go back and pick up on Slamet. Slamet looks like he's going to get into trouble pretty soon because Slamet has got Portman and Ivan van Niekerk. We haven't spoken much about Ivan van Niekerk the whole way through the day, but all those guys are stuck on the 122. So Slamet, Portman, and Ivan van Niekerk at the back of the pack there, battling for 7th place overall on the day.
A nice little run here from Good and from Garrick Flock, and I think the discerning factor in terms of the rookie title up for today is going to be who wins this race.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. You know, they've both improved as much as one another. They're both first-timers to the track, and it has to come down to a decision made on position.
Dude, check the lap times. 19.9 out of Lance Isaacs in the last one, and 20 dead out of Sella. All of a sudden, the pace is picking up. I'm looking at whether the wind has died down. It's not really a factor. And I can tell you, I think it's just a time of the race that Lance Isaacs is saying, let's see what Clint's actually got.
Well, that's actually it. That's dead right. The only tactic he's got left is to go as hard as he can and see if the Kawasaki can still run with him, because he proved in race number 1 that on a clear lap and a perfect hammer down, no mistakes, Lance Isaacs was clearly faster than Clinton Sella. So Sella, he said his team had something to give him. They've given it to him. He's able to run higher pace. So Clinton Sella has got to react right now. A 119.91 from Lance Isaacs, a 119.97 from Clinton Sella. And if nothing changes in this scenario, I think we're going to see Lance Isaacs, if he stays like this for the next 2 laps, he's literally going to sit up and allow Clinton Sella to come through and say, right, keep going. Otherwise, the rest of the guys will catch us. Sella will have to take the lead, and then the game starts.
Well, let's see what the lap times are going to be like now. It certainly didn't look as aggressive on that lap as it was on the previous one from Isaacs. Isaacs crosses. In fact, he is. Jeez. I take everything back. It is a 119.7 from Isaacs, a 119.8 from Sella. So even though they look like they are doing nothing on the motorcycles, they have gone that 5,000th of a second quicker, and they're going quicker every lap.
And you can see a slight wiggle from Sella there, so he is working hard to keep the power down, and the BMW does seem to be more planted, so this is a different take on how the race is going to go. Lance Isaacs is trying to break the toe in clear air and just break away from Clinton Sella under race pace speed. You can see at the top end of the straight. Oh man, down to the back there. That was Whitey.
Rider down to Cocavana. Yes, indeed. Oh no, Dylan White is, he's down. He's trying to lift the bike on his own. That's a big piece of machinery to lift up on your own. Marshall's running across to help him out.
Oh, it's a heartbreaker.
Hopefully he can get back on. It doesn't look like too much damage. It looks like just probably the front end washed out and he slid down onto the grass. And what a heartbreaker, as you said, Matt, there for Dylan White, the gambler.
He was running such good pace there. He was locked in that battle. He was leading out of the number 77, Brent Herron. It looked like at the time of going down, he was sitting behind him. So we'll have to see if we can get a replay and figure out what the story was there. But right, Whitey going down and blowing our third place battle wide open. And look at the gap out front. So that is exactly what we spoke about, Greg. Lance Isaacs is out racing Clint Sella.
Yeah, just picking up on how they're out racing each other, but looking at this little battle too, which you're trying to pick up a bit earlier on. Look how close it is between these guys. Wowee. Absolutely amazing stuff. Portman has improved dramatically. 22 sevens out of him. He's got ahead of Slammit, who Slammit, dude, was at the front of the race, beginning of the race.
That's what I'm talking about. He had a good gate, but he cannot run those solid lap times, unfortunately. Dylan White now falling off the back of our score sheets. We hope we can see him get going. He was gesticulating that he was going to. Van Niekerk in the pits. So one of the riders that was circulating in the back there, just obviously not happy with bike, set up all conditions, and we're trying to see if the gambler is going to get up and running. Right now, here's the battle of the rookies, which is going to be now for 4th place. So Brandon Good is out there running in 4th place ahead of Garrick Flock. Staying with the battle of the rookies, Brandon Good now sits in 4th place. This is an incredible situation. Garrick Flock in 5th. Robert Portman moves up to 6th. Lance Isaacs still going in the 119 bracket. Stays ahead of Clinton Sella. There goes Herron. He's locked into the 120s. He's running a full 8.5 seconds back as Dylan White, the gambler, comes into the pits. The bike obviously good enough to get back to the pits, but not good enough to keep racing.
Well, it looks like we're going to get Ricky to go and find out exactly what went wrong. He's coming down pit lane right now, and he'll pull in front of his pit board and, of course, his pit box. He's not happy. He's just going to drive straight in. We'll get Ricky down to him to get the information as to what went wrong there. As I said, I think it just might be a mistake out of White himself. No issues on the bike as we continue this little battle between Robert Portman on the MTech brother Yamaha and the lone MTech brother Yamaha out there. Looks like both of the teammates, as we saw in 600 with Cam. Cam, actually news on him, broken scaphoid. So it looks like he's going to be in the compression chamber for a while to get that injury sorted out before we get to round 5. Nelson Mandela Bay, Super GP.
Skyfoid, such a bad break as well. Literally the epitome of the bad break. A bone that needs blood flow so it can heal up. Lance Isaacs is there, and look at the gap. The gap is growing. Last time around the stripe, it was a 1.3. It is definitely bigger than that this time around. So let's have a look. 1.3 was the gap last time around. 1.8, almost 2-second gap. And Lance Isaacs has just dropped the hammer on Clinton Sella, and Sella has no reaction. A fastest lap overall on the weekend, a 1:19.40 from Lance Isaacs, and he has broken the back of this race. Clinton Sella 1.8 seconds adrift.
Right, so a little bit of a change up here as Dylan White has come in. Unfortunately, a little bit of issue on the camera. Hope we can get that sorted out and get a little quick chat with Dill to see what went wrong. But let's have a look and see. Yes, Matt, I was listening to your commentary, but what an awesome bit of riding there from Lance Isaac. He has now decided, you know what? I've had enough.
I ain't playing your game anymore.
Taking wins away from me.
Yeah, it's simple. It's just he had to take a win today. You could see the form he was carrying. He was building momentum the whole way through the season. He had such a good run down at Cape Town, and now he has truly arrived. This tells you why he said he should have taken a win in race 1.
Look how hard he's pushing. You don't want to push too hard, though. Remember, we've still got 8 laps to go. In fact, there'll be 7 as they come across the line now to complete number 11. So lap number 11 about to completed, 7 still to go. Can he keep Sella at bay for another 7 laps? The way he's going right now with a 19.4 on the previous lap, what's it going to be on this one as he crosses the stripe? He goes down into the 19s. He's consistently in the 19s.
That's the point.
And consistently quicker than Sella's able to get out of his bike.
Yeah, he was 1/1000th of a second quicker than Sella that time around. So that gap is going to remain or grow. There's certainly a problem with Sella, and there's certainly absolutely no problem with Lance Isaacs. That said, if Sella stays in the 19s, he's got a chance to maybe close him down, but he has to run faster than the BMW. And it's clear that that BMW is the faster bike right now, and Sella is not going to be happy about that.
Well, I know you picked on the fact that all of a sudden Nicholas van der Walt came back on the track. He did. He is on track. He's about to be caught by the leaders. I picked up on the 42 bike, just sneaking through one of our shots there, and whatever they did, they sorted the bike out, whatever issues were sorted, and they've sent him out to try and score as many points as possible because there's still 7 laps to go.
I was going to say, so he came out of pit lane. He didn't start from the start. I thought I was seeing a mirage or something.
I thought so too. I couldn't quite work it out, and then I saw that little 42. We might be able to see him as they come onto the main straight now, but here they come up onto the braking markers for Beacon. And onto the main straight, that's where we might pick up on the fact that Van der Walt, here he comes, we'll see him.
Okay.
Even though our camera's not going to pick up on him. There he goes, Van der Walt.
There he is.
Probably about 500 meters,
Okay.
and there it is. There's the shot.
So we're going to come into the lappers. Van der Walt a couple of laps down, and I do mean 4 full laps down. So it's going to be a weird situation to see him getting lapped this early in the race as we head towards the halfway, or just after the halfway marker. But Lance Isaacs stretching the lead out, not 1.8 seconds now, 2.6 seconds. He's hit turbo.
I want to know what they've done to that machine, because certainly a massive improvement here, and like a huge head game being played. Because if that's the situation that's happening at the front end, but let's find out what's happened at the back end, because unfortunately Dylan White, the gambler, is out, and Ricky's down there with him.
Dylan, if I'm not mistaken, in Cape Town in the second race you went down as well. And so tell me what happened. Why has it happened again?
Unfortunately, this time it was my fault. Cape Town was a bike mechanical failure. I was just pushing a bit too hard. Same thing happened in practice, and I suppose that's how racing goes, eh?
All right, well, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
And the bike is okay?
Yeah, it looks all right, repairable. We'll be back for the next one.
All right, see you in the next round. Back to commentary.
Thanks, and real bad luck to Dill there, and yeah, a more dejected man right now you will not find.
Well, it's taken almost a lap for Lance Isaacs to make up that ground on Van der Walt, so that R1 is going, but he's about to be eaten up by Black Swan in huge form.
But you know what? I'm looking at the lap times here, and that previous lap, Clinton Sella a 1:20.6. Clinton's rolled out of this one. I think Clinton has literally gone, well, you know, his words are going to be, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? I cannot run that pace.
Yeah, he can't run the pace, but I think more importantly, if you look at the kind of pace that Sella got out of his bike yesterday in the 19.1s, he has got the ability to run the pace. What he's starting to do right now as we head into the second half of this championship, he has gone so well, it's consolidation.
Yep.
Do I need to really fight for every single win?
Nope.
No, because I have a win and 2 points margin over anybody else.
Doesn't need to take those risks at all. There's Portman and Slamit. This is a great dice, and it looks like Slamit is trying to change things up. Look at the mid-corner speed of that Yamaha. It's so planted. Top-end power is definitely in the hands of the Kawasaki. That's what Portman's been talking about the whole way through the season. He says if he could get his bike to go as fast as a Kawasaki, he'd kill them. He says that thing handles and turns on a dime. He just cannot have the legs.
The other important factor, of course, is with Robert Portman. He is improving every time he gets on the R1, and there is improvements coming out of that bike. But as you said, he just can't get the top end. The corner speed, and of course, when we were sitting in the complex yesterday, you and I, the absolutely amazing sound of that Big Bang engine as it heads through Potters and Rifle. You cannot better that.
And smooth power.
Yeah.
It is the smoothest power out there. The other bikes are a bit snatchy and grabby. I know the manufacturers may not agree, but the smooth power delivery of the Yamaha is why it's winning championships overseas. Some reason over here, well, I know the reasons over here, not allowed to do the modifications to the bike to make it go, but on paper it should.
Right, so our rookie side of things, we've just seen now. Nicholas van der Walt is not involved in the rookies, although he was involved in Super Bowl yesterday, first man out in Super Bowl. Brandon Good, though, is certainly involved, and if he keeps it right there, with the margin he's got over Garrick Flock right now, which is probably about 1.4 seconds, that's enough to hand him what will be the Rookie of the Day title from our point of view.
That's a good little battle, and yeah, confirmation. There was nothing to choose between the two. It was clear that Garrick Flock was battling a little bit more and didn't come to terms as quickly. But Goody looks like he's been in this championship for about 6 seasons. He's just very polished in his style. He's got a good setup on the bike, and he's got a good setup behind him as well. As we start to see the back wheel of the BMW wagging around a little bit, may we see a bit of tire degradation for the first time today, because this has been locked in, like you say, on the 119s, and something has to give.
It's 119.998 out of Isaacs on the last one. He crosses a stripe with a 122.3, so he has definitely rolled out of it. 21.5 though coming out, or 20.5 I should say, out of Sella. So what has happened? Has it turned around? Are we seeing a bit of a change up here? Another resurgence from Sella? Has Sella thought to himself, oh, you know, if I can't run the pace, maybe I can just close him down and try and force a mistake?
3 laps remaining in this race. Lance Isaacs leads things out. Best lap time, I think about 4 laps ago, of a 19.40. Last lap a 1:22. So traffic coming into play for sure. It would have slowed things down. We'll try and see if they're going to get a clear run this time around. It's a clear lap thus far as we head into gate, and I think we're going to be straight back into the high 19s or low 20s. That's going to answer our question. It's getting dark out there though, and we're losing a lot of track temperature, but quickly.
So Isaacs coming out of Cox corner and into the sweep again. Amazing stuff here from Lance Isaacs to open up such a margin. It eventually got up to 4.5 seconds. It's come back down to 2.6 seconds. And looking at a possibility of completing lap number 16 here for these two riders. And of course, as they cross that line, that's 2 to go for the entire race day.
Haven't spoken about Brent Herron since the first 5 laps of the race. He is locked down there in the 120s and mid-21s. He's in 3rd place in the middle of nowhere, 15.5 seconds off our race lead.
Well, one thing I can take into account, remember that every circuit we go to, Matt, we can pick up on and educate the folks out in TV land and in live streaming land, on internet land, is the fact that these riders are at the circuit for the first time in an Evo class. It's an Evo bike that they run, as opposed to the modified superbikes or the standard superbikes. And on the first lap, or the first race I should say, best lap time came out of Evel Knievel, a 119.6. The 119.40, new lap record for Lance Isaacs. Isaacs with a lap record now.
Yeah, confirmation of that as well. And that bike is absolutely dialed in. He's figured out whatever he had to do on the brakes. There's a lot of dust coming down the main straight here. I thought someone had gone off there for a second when I look up and see that much dust. But no, it's just a big gust of wind. And I really think we found a good package on all of the bikes that are out there. They are able to give us relatively even racing, particularly in the 600 bikes. In the 1000 cc's, it's just the class of the riders at the moment, and these two are the class of the field as they head in with 1 lap remaining. One more time.
Now coming across the line now with 1 lap to go. I've got to throw something at you. I've been dying to do it all day, and I had to wait until this particular section of the race. They cross the line and start the final lap here in East London, Buffalo City. We're heading to the Windy City in the 27th of July. What is going to go down there?
Exactly. I mean, we've been talking about the Windy City because this place has arrived. I've never seen the wind pump this hard in all the years that we've been coming down here, and it had to happen on all bike day. And watch out for the Hardy-Dars. Thank goodness. Thank goodness he faded right, not left.
Black Swan versus Hardy-Dar. I think there might have been a big contention there between the two of them for the win.
That photo is definitely going to be out there in, as you say, internet land. It's going to be out there for sure. And Lance Isaacs has just not put a foot wrong in this race. He's got a setup on the bike that he can work with. He's one of those riders that needs the bike absolutely perfect, and once it's perfect, he's going to be an extremely hard man to beat. We never thought we would see the day where, when Evel Knievel, Clinton Seller, stayed on his bike, he could be beaten.
Seller is there. I think he's just realizing the fact that with this commanding lead he's got, he can now start thinking about consolidation. Push hard for the wins, for sure. No doubt about it. But if you're not going to get them, get the best you can and get those points in the bag so that you can walk away with back-to-back titles 3 years in a row. But today, race 2 and honors go to Black Swan Racing. BMW are at the top of Super GP for the very first time in 2014.
Isaacs didn't even have to look back as he approached. He is just so happy with that, almost praying while he's on the bike there. Thank you, I got through this one. And if we see Clinton Seller's reaction, it's going to be disheartened. He's not going to be happy with this one. It will be a big shake of the head, and he will not be happy to have had to take such a beating.
Well, Seller's going to still get a high five from Lance, his good friend off the circuit. They are great rivals on track. They are good mates off the track. And that's what it's all about in Super GPs. Third place once again to the Black Knight, Brent Herron. He was very quiet today, but he went about it in a bit of a stealthy way to just maintain and get the best points he could get, even though he didn't have the same kind of pace out of these two. And I think Isaacs is actually telling him, listen, dude, did you see that Hardy-Dar on the last lap down here at Copacabana?
No. Well, that was a big point down. Seller just pointed to his bike and said, that's as fast as she would go. I cannot run with you today. You've got the best setup. Good luck to you, brother, and congrats on the win. And a long chat as they cruise up. Now they're going to put on the show for the boys. Long stand-up wheelie from Clinton Seller. Just enjoying his time out. Whoa! High side! High side, Clinton Seller. He just throws it away while he's doing a stand-up wheelie. The thing got crossed up, got ripped out of his hands, and drama on the slowdown lap, and Clinton Seller is down. We need a medic down there. He is sore.
Man, I was on my way down. I heard the action. I actually saw it talking to Dick Shuttle. Wow, what a dramatic end up here. Seller has gone and high-sided it all on his own. So he's hurt the shoulder again. You can see that shoulder is absolutely toast. Isaacs and Herron waiting for him. In fact, all the riders waiting for him.
So it's a stand-up wheelie, showboating. The bike got slightly crossed up from the wind. Here's the replay. Here we go. So it was a stand-up wheelie, enjoying his time up there. Lance puts it down. Watch this. Towards the end of the wheelie, starts getting the wiggle on, puts it down, and the front end is crossed up. Bang!
Oh! The showboating went the wrong way there for Seller. Unfortunately, Isaacs having to just take evasive action and miss Seller, who rolls right in front of the BMW. Wow.
See Herron behind him, literally holding his head.
I was waiting for the showboating. I heard you saying it, but I was actually thinking to myself, guys, don't do too much. The wind is pumping. It is going to affect your ability to make a wheelie. And all of a sudden, it looks like ER24 are going to be called into action. Uncharacteristically at the end of a race day like that. Wow, what has gone down there? Maybe we get one more shot.
Very rare that this kind of thing happens. Very, very rare.
Isaacs on the podium and the first win for the BMW team.